I am fighting for my calm. I am fighting for my body to understand and appreciate and stay in this place where I'm not in fight or flight or freeze, and just sit at the feet of the Father.
You're listening to Empty Nexters, a podcast about finding joy, beauty, and wonder in the next season of life. What's your next? Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empty Nexter podcast. I'm your host, Kelley, and I am so excited to be with you again today as we again take some time to talk about just what the empty nexter life looks like for every season, not just the 50-plus crowd, but all the young ones too. And we're so excited to have time with you today. And I am over the moon excited. I know I say that a lot, but every time I have a guest in the studio, I'm just super excited. And today I get to have one of my guests in that I have been having the pleasure of knowing and doing life with and having great conversations, lots of fun. This woman, let me tell you, Kelley, is what's the word? I don't want to say spirit animal sister or whatever, but she's got an encouraging heart. She's a prayer warrior. She is always in your corner. She is one of these, if you need a cheerleader, everybody needs a Kelley in their life, in my opinion. She has always been that person for me. And I am super grateful to have her here today. And so she's just going to share a little bit about what's going on. So everyone, welcome Kelley to the podcast.
Thank you, Shelley. Thank you.
It's Shelley and Kelley show.
Yeah,
I love it.
I love it.
So before we get started, tell us all about Kelley. Who are you? What's your story?
Oh,
threw that one at you fast, didn't I?
You did. I am a former homeschool mom.
Woo, woo, woo.
I homeschooled my children all the way through. Never thought I'd be that woman. God calls us to do things out of the box sometimes.
I love it. Yeah.
And so when I started having children very early, I was 19 when I had my first. So empty nest came very early for me. I was 42 when my youngest went to college. And so I really thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be this wonderful, cool new season, because I had started so young and just got involved in that. Of course, you can never just homeschool as a mom. As in any career you choose, you have to excel. You have to be, on the board of the homeschool group. You have to be involved in church. All the extras that we as women do. It's never just enough. And so when my daughter went to college, I thought, oh, this is going to be a whole new season. And of course, life happens. And in the year that she went to school, my best friend at that time developed cancer, and I helped take care of her that last year. And then I ended up homeschooling her child for 3 years after she passed. Wow. My daughter got married, and then my parents started getting sick. And we start that sandwich generation, which I wasn't ready for. I was still relatively young. So I was traveling back and forth, taking care of my mother. My father passed away. My mom died. And in the middle of taking care of her, I had an identity crisis. All the things from childhood that had been issues that I thought I had taken care of course, resurfaced. Sure. And you have to really find out who you are in Christ and overcome those lies that you've been believing about yourself. And so it was a whole decade of all these major life events. And there was never a time of just really a calmness or a peace in enjoying that emptiness with my husband. And after my mother died, my body literally shut down. I got really sick, and they could not figure out what was wrong with me. And they were throwing out scary words and doing scary scans. And I quit everything. I mean, I shut down. I took everything off my plate. I quit every club I was in, except book club. I mean, we all have to read.
That's right.
And, but everything that I was in, the ministries I was in, everything that I was doing, I scaled back. I didn't have energy mentally or physically, and I was just scared. And when I pulled that back and I started realizing my body had been in fight or flight or freeze for as long as I know. I don't remember a time that I was not in that. And I started realizing I can step out of that. I can walk in a calmness, and I can maintain that calmness and that peace in my life. And I spent a good year where I literally forced myself to just be quiet. Even as I began to get well and figure out what was going on and taking that healing journey, I realized I don't want to go back to that. There are times in our lives where being a Martha is okay. Martha's not bad. That's not a bad thing. Most of the time, our Martha things that we're doing are good things. But there are times where we have to be Mary, and we have to choose to step away from Martha. When we're raising our kids, that's very hard. Those aren't, okay, wait, kids, stay over there. Let me go. I mean, we have moments of it, but not seasons where we can just be enveloped in that calmness. And so after my parents died, and now I'm in this empty nest season, that's where I am. I am fighting for my calm. I am fighting for my body to understand and appreciate and stay in this place where I'm not in fight or flight or freeze, and just sit at the feet of the Father. Because I know, we all know, these seasons don't last, but I'm going to take advantage of it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I have so many things I want to go back to what all you just said and unpack. Well, I know some of the journey you've been on, because you and I have been very intentional about walking through these journeys together and praying for each other and encouraging each other. When you said fight, flight, or freeze, that was like the same as thriving versus surviving.
Correct.
And when you have young kids, and when you do start young like you did, you made a comment, I had to be on the booster club. I had to be this mom. Where do you think, in your mind, where did that get put into your mind that you had to do that? What was that change for you as far as I have to be all this or I am not this?
Well, I think some of it started from childhood, of course. Some of it's personality. Some of it, I sadly grew up with a very critical mother. So I was always trying to please. But then you add that I had a child at 19, you're going to put that on steroids, because now not only do I have the innate in me of having to please, but I also have to prove to the world that even though I made this early decision, I don't want to say a mistake, because my Seth would never be a mistake. He, besides Christ, is the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. But I had to prove to the world I could handle it, and not only do it, but do it well.
There you go.
And so I had to be a part of everything and be the best at everything. We couldn't just homeschool. We had to homeschool and go see all these field trips. And I had to be on the board and make sure my children had a prom and a graduation. And I was the treasurer. And I was never just me. I was always me on steroids. Yeah. And with that said, there are a lot of great things I did that I'm very, very proud of. But there's something about this age where I'm quite okay with me.
I love that. And you can tell in your face. I sometimes wish, I say it on the podcast, we had video, although not today so much because I have zero makeup on and Kelley looks gorgeous. But I think the thing I'm seeing in a lot of our empty nexters that are at this season is that we've, like I said earlier, we've given ourselves permission to be just who God's called us to be. And it's, I don't want to say the word unfortunate, but to get to this point, a lot of us had to go through all the, the mom times 100 on steroids. I was the homeschool mom too. I felt like I had to measure up to all the other moms around me because that was my value.
Yeah.
And when you said Martha, I think we're all learning the Martha Mary syndrome, that it is okay to be both. I feel like you can be both. I just think you have to learn the balance of both.
Absolutely. I mean, if Martha never cleaned the house, never had the food. I mean, the gift of hospitality is in the Bible. There are times we are Martha, but there are times, I mean, God told us to rest. He made it so important. From the very beginning, there was a day of rest. There was the Sabbath. There was the year of Jubilee. There was the time that even the crops were to rest every 7 years. Why do we think that we don't need to?
That's the $1 million question.
It is. And we wear this Marthaism as a badge sometimes that, oh my gosh, I'm so crazy. I do this and I do this and I do this, and it's always so busy, and I just give, and it's all good things. But sometimes if we're not called to do all those things, they're just mere distractions.
That's so good.
And then we lose sight of that time with God, and we lose sight of that time of rest in our body. And then you get to be my age, and your body takes a whole year to say, we're going to shut down now because things have been going too hard for you.
Did you have warning signs back when you were younger that you ignored?
I had my first upper GI when I was 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I think all of us have places that we get hit. Some people suffer with migraines. I've always suffered with stomach. And I was a very anxious child. Criticism hit me hard, and it hit me in my stomach. I was on stomach medicine my entire childhood, prescriptions. So, and then I got diagnosed with the autoimmune the year after my daughter graduated from high school and went into college. So, yeah, I was starting to see warning signs. I did not slow down.
Yeah.
And part of it, I couldn't.
Right.
I mean, when your parents are dying, you have a timeline.
Right.
Now, looking back with the perspective I have now, were there times that I could have possibly picked pockets of calmness, picked pockets of quiet? Absolutely.
Wow.
Did I push through too hard? Probably so.
Wow.
Am I going to be more intentional now? Absolutely. I am very guarded now with what I call white calendar days.
Oh.
And
please explain that. That's a new phrase I've never heard.
You know, I'm old school. Yeah. I do use the iPhone for my calendar.
Talk to me, girl.
But I like the big calendar in my
me
kitchen.
Me too.
I like to see.
I think I talked about the daytimer in one of the episodes. I'm like, you remember the Franklins?
Oh my God, I love those.
Yes, yeah.
I love them. And you had to get the new things, and you wanted the right color.
I love it, yeah.
Yeah, but I have a big calendar, and my daughter now makes me one every year of all of my grand dogs. And
I love it.
And I also have an axolotl and a leopard gecko grandchild. So every month, then, my husband can also go in because we are the keepers of our husband's schedules,
right.
most of us,
right.
not all of us, and he can go in and see what's planned. But my goal would be once a week, but it doesn't always happen, that I have nothing on the calendar. Mm-hmm. Because in this season of calm, not only do I want to sit in the feet of the Father, I want to find out more about me, you know, and that part of it is just my age. Part of it, again, is because my life started so young comparatively to some. I want to find passions and hobbies. I've never had time for that.
Love it.
I want to find out things that I have in me that make me special, and not to be in comparison with anybody, but that light up my heart and bring glory to the Father.
I love that.
You know, I put my kids in all these extracurricular when they were little, and I would watch them thinking, oh my goodness, that's so cool. That's great. Now it's my turn.
Yes.
I want to try some new things that I wasn't permitted to, whether it be financially or time-wise or whatever when they were little, because we put our kids in things well before we do for ourselves.
Sure. Do you ever feel guilty for those white calendar days?
Not anymore. I used to.
How long did it take before you didn't feel guilty?
Just this past year. Now, when I tell somebody no, I don't explain to them it's because nothing's going on that day. My no is no.
That to me right there is, I can agree with you. I always felt like in order to say no, I had to have a reason.
Yeah.
I had to be like, hey babe, aren't we out of town? This is, I'm gonna out myself right here. I would be like, hey babe, if I call you and go, we're out of town this weekend, right? He knows, yes, we're not here. We could be in Griffin. Okay, that's out of town from Fayetteville. And that would be my little out to
Right.
say, oh, I wish I could come, or I can't. And that was, instead of just being honest, like, you know what? I just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
I'm learning that word capacity more, that if I give you this, then the next day I'm going to be depleted.
That's right.
And in the season that we're in now, the fabulous 50 plus group,
Whoop,
I
whoop.
want to be able to have the energy to do what really I need to do. Not that coming to that baby shower won't really, I love it or whatever. I'll send you a gift and bless you all day long. But really, me being there is not the best. And so
That's
for you to
right.
say that you don't feel guilty anymore, that's huge.
I heard a story years ago, and it was by a young friend that homeschooled with my children, and he's grown now, so I do consider him a friend, very bright young man. And he told this story about spoons. And he said, most people are allotted 5 spoons a day. But if you have something going on, health-wise, something that's consuming, maybe taking care of your parents, whatever, 1 or 2 of your spoons may already be taken by that.
Wow.
And then if you push through and still try to use your 5 spoons on the things that the world is demanding around you, you may start the next day with only 1 spoon. So how often are you going to keep going on very few spoons?
Wow.
You don't have it to give.
That's right.
And we all have our spoons to use differently. We all have different strength spoons, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been very guarded with my spoons.
When you said that, I'm looking at my little pot that holds all my utensils.
Yeah.
You have the big ladle.
Yeah.
The carrot,
Yeah.
lots. Then you
Yeah.
have like the bigger, like big mashed potato spoon, and you have the big serving spoon. Then you go down a little teaspoon. Then you go down an itty bitty teaspoon with like for tea. I'm thinking, wow, when you were saying that, my brain's going, you're right. We've all been given, if you don't have extenuating, like parents you're caring for, or even your own health, you have the capacity is limited. And you're right. We have to be wiser in how we respond each day to what, Holy Spirit, what do I say yes to and what do I say no to? And it's okay.
It's so true. Even this week, I had somebody, I have the best friends. I really do.
Yeah,
and I
you do.
love getting together with them. And I had somebody want to get together Wednesday. And it was a white calendar day. And I said, I'm getting ready for the podcast. And it came back as a question. Well, what does that mean?
Interesting.
Well intent. They were well intended. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I was just saving spoons. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting at the Father's feet and praying or taking notes for it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's my time. And I think that that's something we as women, the word my time, the word self-care, all of those words, they go in contrast to that badge that we wear being a Martha.
Wow. Yeah.
But we can have it all.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the way the world says we can have it all. We can be a Martha and we can be a Mary.
That's good.
We're not limited.
That
The
is
only
so good,
limit
yeah.
is ourselves.
Yeah. When you say Martha and Mary, I always think Mary, I think, she gets a lot of credit for being super spiritual, obviously, the way we look at it in the Bible. And yes, she chose the better thing, which Jesus
Absolutely.
said. However, I got to wonder, Martha probably cleaned a dish. She probably swept a floor. That doesn't mean if we want to spend time at the feet of Jesus, our house has to suffer.
That's
or
right.
our relationships with our husbands or our kids. But then if you're Martha, you get this rap of, oh, you're so busy and you just want to tell everybody how busy you are because you feel like if it's on Instagram and you're go, but then nobody sees you behind the scenes in your chair crying your eyes out because you're depleted in every way
You're
possible.
tired.
So it's like, yeah, I think we can be M and M, a little Mary, a little Martha.
I agree.
And it's okay.
And I think different seasons allow for that.
Yes.
And I know that I am very privileged to be in this season right now.
Right.
And I am thankful that I understand how privileged I am.
Yeah.
And I also know that it won't last.
Right.
And so it's my responsibility to not only take advantage of it, but to also make habits now so that when the busy season comes again, I will be more intentional to take those pockets of time I told you I didn't take in the last 15 years.
That is key right there, because the goal of this podcast is to always put the warning signs out ahead for the next generation coming behind, to say, listen, I wish I would have. I didn't. I made it through. My family's great. My health suffered, but now I'm at a season where I can sit and really reflect back on, wow, thank God I'm where I'm at. I'm embracing every part of me. I mean, for you and I just to talk about embracing who we are, that's huge for us. I came from the generation of being that people pleaser. The whole give your life's blood for everything and everyone, to the extent of our bodies hit a wall. I hit a wall so hard. And I'm thinking about, when you say calm, I'm thinking about Peter walking on the water, and he was fine with all the crazy around him as long as his eyes were on Jesus. And I think we have to get back to, the crazy is never going away.
It really is.
No matter what, there will be seasons of, praise God, seasons of health and joy and beauty, but those seasons of struggle and I pray no tragedy, but life happens.
It does.
How are we going to manage? And yet, like you said, you've got to be prepared and expect the calm.
Expect it and take advantage of it when it comes, because it's not going to stick around. The Sabbath was for a day, and there were 6 days of work, but they rested on that day. So if I don't take advantage of my calm time, I'm not going to have any spoons when the busy time comes.
I'm never going to look at a spoon again the same way.
He was about, the young man that told me, he was about 16.
I love that.
And he had been dealing with autoimmune for, I think he got diagnosed 10 or 11, severe lupus and some other things. And when I got diagnosed with my autoimmune at 41, he was the one that walked me through a lot.
That's so awesome.
He had a lot of wisdom for a young boy, and now he's a doctor.
I love that.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Out of the mouth of babes, you get these encouraging times. So going back to, you raised your children, you were a young mom, wonderful. How long have you and Scott been married?
We will be married 36 years this summer.
You're right with us. We're 37 in April. Woo, we made it, 37. Amazing, wonderful men that we adore.
I like him even better now in Empty Nest.
I do too. I know, it's a whole new, I love retired David. I mean, I loved working David, but it's just fun to be in this season. So ladies, if you're young marrieds with babies, hang on, don't give up. Keep fighting, keep praying, keep believing, keep doing all the things.
Keep being intentional to like your husband.
I love that.
Because that's who you're going to be stuck with when the kids leave.
Woo, that'll preach right there. That's right. It started with you and him. It will hopefully. It will end with you and him and walking into glory, hopefully together. But you know how that goes at the end of the journey for us. But yeah. So back when the kids were, you got Sydney married and Seth moved off, and it was just Kelley and Scott. What was it you had to do to start moving towards where you are now? What were the steps you had to take once you finally realized, I need to focus on me and not feel guilty?
Well, in all honesty, I don't think I really realized that until a couple of years ago. That's the statement we say. And I think we have a little bit of it, but I don't think I fully embraced it and understood it till a couple of years ago. Well, I take that back. During COVID, I remember telling Scott, when the world opened back up, I wanted to take a pottery class.
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I thought, what do I want to do?
I love it. Okay.
But then my dad died 4 years ago this month. My mom died 2.5 years ago. So from COVID on, there was a lot of traveling back and forth and seeing them. But the last year when I sat down and I just was at home, I thought, okay, who am I? Who am I apart from being a mom, a homeschool mom? Who am I even apart from just being a wife? Which I love being a wife, but I'm still me.
Right.
And I want to know who I am, who God created me to be besides those titles.
I love that.
I think I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and be Grandma Moses.
Wow.
I tried painting yesterday, and I don't think that's going to be my story.
I just admire you for trying so many cool things like we've talked about before. If you don't know what you want to do, just trial and error. Get out there
That's
and try
right.
it. Pottery class, painting, climbing a little hill because eventually you want to climb a mountain. I mean, you don't know till you go.
And you don't master till you try.
That's right. I mean, and that's what the joy of this whole season is when you are an empty nester, whatever. We try to combine it both, but the joy is now you have the freedom to
That's
say
right.
yes to yourself.
You have a little more time.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more money.
Yeah.
And it's your time.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, I think it's your time to figure some things out and do some things that you might not have been able to do before.
And how has God used you in so many ways in the community and the different places you've been, even at the YMCA, the way you've jumped in, the different places we put ourselves, we have to remember it's not about us.
That's
how does
right.
God want to be glorified through us?
That's right.
And sometimes taking that pottery class puts you next to another woman who might need to know Jesus or see the joy of Jesus in you.
That's right.
So it's all about, I want to rediscover who God's called me to be, and I want to be all he wants me to be, fully alive. But really, at the end of the day, we are his ambassadors. We are the ones that are supposed to carry the light to the world. And if we let ourselves stay locked in our homes because we're afraid to really be who God's called us to be, man, we're missing out. I don't want to miss out.
I don't either. I want my last days
Come on now.
to be the best days
Yes.
of me glorifying him.
Absolutely.
I want people to see his love through me. I
Yes.
want my legacy to be that I loved him and I loved people. And I cannot do that depleted.
That's right.
I cannot do that sick. I cannot do that busy. I have to know who he is so I can shine that to others.
That's so good. Wow. I think too, you can have fun doing it. We can have so much
Absolutely.
fun figuring things out. And, I'm just all about joy these days. I just want to have fun. I want to have joy, even in the midst of crazy, even in the midst of the ups and downs of our, health journeys and our kids, not always being what we wish they were. But, we have to just remember God's got them.
That's right.
And right now, we've got to figure out this next chapter, we talk about birth to like 18 and 18 to 40 and then 50 to 80, 85, 90, however long keeps us on this earth. So technically, we're kind of in the third act of our life, and I want the third act to be the best.
That's right.
When you're watching a show, it's like the ending is like, oh my gosh, how's this going to end?
When the curtain goes down, we want an applause.
I do. I want everybody on their feet.
Yeah, not about people pleasing, but
Right.
because it was a job well done.
Finished well.
That's right.
That's exactly right. So when you, so what does your new calm scenario look like? What is like the action steps you take to fight for the calm in Kelley's life?
I'm very intentional with my time with the Lord.
Good.
I'm disciplined in that, and I want to continue that. I don't want to get busy and then forget my daily time, which I have done in previous seasons. I am very intentional about keeping the white calendar days. I am very intentional about knowing what I have to give socially. I don't have as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And I find that bizarre. And I don't know if it's COVID. I don't know if COVID showed me that I was really pushing through more than I had to. I don't know if it's age, but I'm just not as social as I used to be. When I want to be my best me.
Yeah.
My daughter even said that the other day. She said, when I'm out socially, I want to be my best me. So she is also protective of her time at home as well. She has learned at an early age, but her journey with health has been much harder than mine. So
that's
she's
huge.
Had to learn some hard lessons, sadly. So yeah, and my season is probably coming to an end of this calmness. I'm getting licensed. My husband has corrected me.
I love that.
Licensed to help my husband with his company. And it's something we've talked about for a decade.
Wow.
But every year presented me taking care of someone else. So this we think is going to be the year I will start getting licensed. I've not taken tests for probably 3 decades. I'm very nervous.
How exciting.
But yeah, so I will be helping my husband with his/our company, even though I've not really contributed yet in the way he does. But this is my year.
I love that.
So I am entering a new season but I'm hoping to bring the calm with me.
There you go.
I'm hoping I never want to go back to fight, flight, or freeze.
Yes.
And I can feel, I'm much more aware now when something happens, aware of the things in my body that respond, that want to go there.
Right.
And I don't want to live there.
I love that. Good.
Because when you've lived there, you don't know that you're there until you come out of it.
Mm-hmm. And then you're not the best, version of yourself for anybody. When
No.
we just, and there's those days that you just have to power through. I went to bed last night pondering the podcast today, and this is a funny little trail off, so bear with me. I came into work last week. I was talking to one of the younger moms or younger women on staff, and I said, I think at this point in my life, if I were to describe myself as an animal, I would be a sloth. And she was like,
sloths.
Shelley, you have to Google the movie Zootopia and the DMV thing. It's like two of the main characters of Zootopia go into the DMV, and the whole DMV is run by sloths. And we all know the journey with DMVs anyway. I mean, love them, but move at a sloth speed.
Yes.
But the moral of everything I'm saying is my mind and my heart want to go faster than my body will allow.
Yes.
And so I feel like I'm not slothful in my heart or my mind or like my relationship with the Lord, but my body has gone from being that rabbit, that hare that wants to take off past that tortoise and leave her in the dust. Hey, sister, you too slow. I'm out of here. And then all of a sudden, I'm walking around like a sloth because I'm so exhausted.
Yes.
I can't, what happened? So if anybody's out there, Google that and let me know, because I laughed so loud.
I'm going to watch it.
It was like, oh, that's it. And I just thought, there's something to be said about just being slowly methodical about what you're giving your calm to.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad used to always say in his mind he was 18, but his body didn't act that way anymore. And I have entered that season as well.
Yeah.
And I am much more mindful of what I can physically take on.
Yes.
So some of it does become a little more mandated because we do move slowly or slower. and when you have your kids at home, for all the young moms, I understand this season does not come. It is not an option.
Right.
I mean, you may have a slow weekend, but you still have kids running around.
Right.
So I that's a foreign concept for when you have children at home.
But even when you said the white calendar, never thought I had that option as a mother. Like, maybe our young moms listening need to hear that we as the older generation give you permission to put white calendar days on the calendar where you stay in maybe there's moms out there, you stay in your jammies all day, let the house go, watch movies, have popcorn, and just dial it back and not feel the pressure of being anything but just that mama for the day.
I did do that after when the kids were little, and we would go to a homeschool co-op. The day after, we would do school, but we would do it in our jammies and stuff.
Yeah,
because my children required that.
Yeah,
I had no idea I was benefiting.
Wow,
I really didn't.
Wow,
I thought I was just doing it to give them a calm, so that when they were gone, I didn't allot myself those days.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. When the kids left, did you go through a mourning period?
Oh, my gosh.
We got to hit on it. I tried to.
Oh, my gosh.
Did I hit a nerve here?
And I feel bad for my daughter because she was my baby. And there is a difference with girls and boys. There shouldn't be, but there are.
Oh, yeah.
And that, the sons are, and they leave and with their muscles up and good to go. They're and your daughters, and she graduated early, and I had a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really, really hard time. And then I had a hard time because I wanted a much different relationship with her than I had with my mother.
Mm.
Part of me was so excited. My little brother had his fourth child at 42. I was an empty nester at 42. I was like, woohoo! But the other part was like, oh my gosh, who am I now?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And these were my babies. They were my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I gave them everything, good and bad.
Right.
Other than my husband, my children know me better than anybody.
Yeah.
So yes, I mourned it for about 2 years.
And then how did you, what did you do? What was like the first thing you did to kind of combat that? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do anymore. Is that when you started getting out there and getting in the community?
Yeah, I joined the YMCA.
Yeah.
And I told them I'm looking for a community.
There you go.
And took classes and got, of course, again, can't just be a Y member, have to get on the board, have to volunteer
Kelley on steroids again.
Yeah, volunteer with the Parkinson's class, read to the children. All great things.
But you were trying to fill a void.
I was trying to fill a void.
Yeah.
I didn't even know I really enjoyed other kids until I started reading to some of these little kids. Yeah, so
I love that.
But now I don't know, because again, I had to pull back from everything, except my book clubs.
Readers are leaders, right?
Yes.
So when you say back to the whole, when your daughter left, I did the whole stalked under the radar stalked, like we did the whole.
I did the radar.
Snapchat. I did the Snapchat with my daughter. Like if I Snapchat her and she hits me back, at least I know she's okay and she's somewhere. I couldn't do the whole Life 360 where you follow, because none of my kids are okay with that. My husband and I just started doing it, which I'm grateful for, but I would never ask my kids to like creep on them like that. I don't know why. It just wouldn't go well in my family. But that was my way of staying connected to her, because I had the expectation of when my kids when she goes off to college, the whole relationship's going to change. It's going to be, and it wasn't. And I had to kind of process through, okay, God, this isn't the way this is going to go. What am I going to do? And that was a whole journey for me. And that was 8 years ago. She's 30 now. So 24. So what, 6 years almost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sydney found her man.
Yeah.
In college.
So did mine.
She had actually known him. She was good friends with his sister in middle school. And I had always told both of my children, if you find who God has for you in college and you know that's from God, we'll honor that. And I'll continue to pay for your school. I'm just not paying for theirs.
That's a good one to say.
When he asked for her hand in marriage, he offered to pay for her school. And we said, no, that's our gift.
Wow.
And we knew him. I did Bible studies with his mom through college, because he and his sister in Sydney went to the same school. And his mom and I would meet and do Bible studies and pray over the girls, and great family.
Yeah.
I mean, so she ended up finding her person and following in our footsteps, other than the pregnancy. She married her husband. She had just turned 20 the month before.
Wow.
And so that really shifted everything.
Sure.
She was still in school, but she was married. And when they became engaged, I had to be very intentional. She's not mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
She belongs to him.
Right.
And again, not property-wise, but biblically wise.
Absolutely.
And so I tried to back off. I wasn't great at it in the beginning when she went to school, but once she was engaged, I really tried to scale back and give her that freedom to become the wife, as well as the biochemist college student that she was. And but it's hard. And there's still to this day nothing that makes me feel better than when my children freely call me.
Oh, yes. The best. The best.
I called my daddy every day from when I got married, with a few exceptions. And every day at 12:30, 1 o'clock was his soap opera. So if you called too close to 1, he would start telling you what was happening on his program, as he called it.
Yeah.
So I would call between 12:30, 12:50. When my daddy died, now my son calls me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
I love that.
At noon, very intentionally.
How precious.
And so I look forward to seeing that. Or my daughter will call. Usually she calls on specific days, and I'll see their name on my phone, and it's just like
your heart.
Yeah, when your adult children reach out to you, there's nothing better.
Nothing better.
I screwed up so much. I did so much. I parented out of fear at times. I parented out of pleasing. But when they have become adults and see me in my humanness and forgive me and love me, there's nothing better.
You're right. Wow. That is, we could actually start a whole nother episode just based on what you just said. But we have to close this episode out only because I don't want to start crying too much because you've hit some nerves with me. And but if you were to leave the podcast listener with 2 words that describe you in the season you're in right now, I know I'm throwing this at you. What would be the 2 words that would describe you right now in this season?
Joy and calm.
Thank you. That is perfect. And I see it. I mean, as your friend, as your sister, I see that in your life. And as we close out the podcast, we've talked a lot about how we were, how we are, how we got to this point. But at the end of the day, I think we have to remember Jesus is our calm. Jesus is our joy.
He calms the storm.
He absolutely does. So if any of you are on the other side of this podcast, we just pray God would calm any storm in your heart, that He would allow you to feel His presence in a way that would cause you to be full of joy, even in the midst of maybe choppy waters or things happening. But also, as we said earlier, give yourself permission to go on and live your best life in that calm that only comes through Jesus. And we just pray today, you go out and live your best calm in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Thank you, Kelley.
Thanks, Shelley.
I can't wait to have you back on again because that's going to happen. Thanks,
you.
everybody. Have a good one.